There are a huge myriad of shmups to choose from, and they all have traits that can separate them. It's always a good idea to research a game before buying, but I highly recommend it when it comes to shmups. Now, this video is not an end-all be-all, but for people who are new to the genre, I feel this could be a good additional introduction along with many other vids that are out there. Let's go through 10 factors that I thought of. When you die, do you immediately respawn right at where you were at? Or does it send you back to the beginning of the stage or some other checkpoint? And even then, how does it downgrade you? Do you start at 0 or do you only lose some of your power level? A couple examples for immediate respawn are Life Force for NES and Thunder Force 3 for the Sega Mega Drive. A couple examples of checkpoint shmups are R-Type and Super Hydora. Most games could be put in two categories, bullet hell and non-bullet hell. Basically just not bullet hell. One of the things I see is that there's a lot of shmups that are immediately classified as bullet hell solely just because they're shmups. Let's not be uninformed and call every single one of them that. If there's a button you can hold that makes your ship move slow, it might be a bullet hell. If you see a tiny glowing circle in the middle of the ship, it's probably a bullet hell. If you see bullets cover the entire screen in random patterns most of the time, it's a bullet hell. Some examples are games from the Cave series such as Dodonpachi, Death Smiles, and Mushihime-sama. My favorite, which isn't a cave game, is called Crimson Clover. A couple examples of games that are not bullet hell are Astro Warrior for the Sega Master System and Gainog, aka Wings of War, for the Sega Mega Drive. If you play Gainog, be careful if you're in front of somebody or if you're streaming because some of the stuff later in the game is not safe for work. The most standard is you fly through a stage, shoot some enemies, grab some power-ups, maybe fight a mid-stage boss, fly some more, grab some more power-ups, then you fight a stage boss. After that, you do it over again for several stages until you fight the final boss and then you win the game. There may even be a special unlock to fight what's called the True Last Boss or TLB. But besides that, some games may have special modes such as Boss Rush, some may even have something called Caravan mode, Caravan shooters. So what are caravans? Basically just continual waves of enemies until you run out of time. Some may have a 2-minute mode or a 5-minute mode. Your challenge is to get the highest score possible. Back in the 1980s, a company in Japan named Hudson Soft created a number of games that had these special modes, and they even held contests. Some examples are Star Force, Star Soldier, and Hector. Most shmups are cut and dry. You're a ship, you stay a ship the whole time. In a game called Hyper Duel, you can change between a ship and a mech. In a game called Osterbreed, you're a mech the whole time. In Sylvalian, you're a dragon. In Angel at Dusk, you're a creature of some sort. In Cotton, you're a witch. In Esparde, you're a bunch of high school kids. And so on. Drones, options, satellites, helpers. People call them different names. I usually call them drones or options. What was the first game that had a drone? That I don't happen to know, but I wish Shmup Junkie would do a history on this.
What's La Chancla?
Drones come in different variants. For example, R-Type lets you use it as a front shield, and you can even shoot it out to shoot enemies and bosses up close. A game called Whip Rush on Mega Drive lets you have up to 2, and you can rotate them around and even bounce them out really quick, sort of like R-Type. Very common ones are they'll rotate around you in a circle, or they'll follow your ship. Some may block bullets, some may have their own shots. Either they are equal or less powerful than your ship. There's a game called G Darius where you can send out and capture certain enemies and use them as a drone until they get shot down. Of course, the primary factor of shmups are what weapons you have, the way they shoot. Back in the day, there were simple pea shooters like Galaga and Space Invaders. But nowadays, they are a lot more imaginative and some are very unique. A very unique example is the free-range weapon in Thunder Force 5. Some other games may give you some more challenging weapons, such as Zelen Force. Depending on the situation you're in, some weapons may be able to reach enemies while some don't. A good example of this would be Hellfire. The majority of them will either scroll horizontally or vertically. Some games have the option that lets you flip the screen sideways to what's called Tate mode. If you have the ability to physically turn your monitor sideways, you'll then have a much bigger view of the game. Some other types are known as super scalers. These are 3D flying games where the camera sits behind the player. Some examples are Space Harrier, Afterburner, and Burning Force. There's even some games out there that will randomly switch between modes in the middle of the stages. Examples are Ostabreed and Ether Vapor Remastered. I highly recommend checking these out since these are two of my favorite games. A couple other rare ones that are worth mentioning are Zaxxon, the Sega classic, and Viewpoint by SNK. These have a pseudo 3D look with being a diagonal or 3/4 view. And then you have a game called Sylphied, which kind of gives 3D vertical viewpoint. And another example worth mentioning is a game called Under Defeat. Some people will controversially call this verizontal. Most auto-scroll. The background just scrolls at whatever speed and you just move around while shooting. But then you have games like Thunder Force 2. The odd number levels are top view and you can choose whichever direction you want to scroll and change it whenever you want. Then you have games like Jetlancer and Luftrausers, which are side view, but you control the speed and velocity and the scrolling of the screen. You had a set number of lives and you would lose one each time that you got hit, and then it's game over. Later, some games came out that actually gave you a life bar. and some games even have a shield pickup that would give you extra hits. Most games have the option to continue, but may reset your score and power level wherever you're at. 1cc, which stands for 1 credit clear. It's very popular and you'll find many videos and streams doing this. 1cc's can be a fun challenge as well as being very self-rewarding, or if you just want to show off your skill to other people. Regardless, it's usually impressive since a lot of them aren't exactly a walk in the park. The right amount of challenge is what makes them fun though. The last thing I'll talk about is a shmup's unique factor. There are a few games that bring some innovation to the table. For example, Ikaruga. You can flip your ship back and forth between 2 colors. Depending on the color of the enemy and their bullets, they may either kill you or build up a meter to unleash a special attack. And then along came a game called Powerumi, which has 3 different colors. There are a few games with a neat mechanic of getting close or grazing. In Graze Counter GM, you can charge your special meter just by being really close to bullets. In Spree Empowered, you get tech points for being near bullets. In Neko Navy, you get a Brave bonus for being right next to enemies when you destroy them. And there you have it. This video is a one-off thing. It's just my personal channel and I made this video for my love of shmups. Hope you enjoyed the watch and thanks a bunch. See ya!
You got asteroids? No, but my dad does. Can't even sell a toilet some days.
Boozy bop, city bop.